Well, giddy up. I'm live here. All right. Getting things set up here if you're watching this as a rebroadcast instead of the live one on the actual Saturday, July 22nd. You can skip ahead about 20 minutes or so. Yeah, 20 minutes. Man, oh man, oh man. I got my dates wrong. I was told wrong. Fishing tournaments next week. So, stations, we'll back at it here live. There you have it. There you go. Good morning, Waylon. Good morning, Jesse. I messed up all the stations, Jesse. Last week I said that we'll have this show pre-recorded because I won't be available, and then I find out here just like 2 days ago, that the fishing tournament's next week, which worked out good for me getting some hay put up. Man, oh man, I got, 25 acres left at the Davis place. So, yeah, I'm early this morning. I just figured, what the hell. Stuff up on Wilkins looks actually pretty good. Bale and a half to 2, possibly. Let's go with 1.75. Oh, man. I am wiped. Good morning, Koly. Morning, Karen. You and I are like the weekend warriors. Maybe in the second half there, buddy. We'll have to record that. Oh, shit. Oh, we'll have to record the show next, I'm guessing Friday after we check in, so we have first day results. What is good hay per acre? Well, I'll tell you, depends on where you live. I think on average farmland and cropland type of thing, I think, you know, getting 2 to 3 bales an acre is kind of normal. For us in this area, it's freaking crazy good. Okay. If we get like 1 to 1.5, that is a good typical year in my country. The PI levels in our soil are like 40 to 50 in this area. You go 5, 6 miles anywhere in a circle around this, and it turns into like 60 to 70. You get into like that Bowman Scranton area, you're easily in the mid 70s, probably 80s. So it changes quite a bit. So much like the attitudes of the people who live here. Morning, Dave. Noreen getting pretty bad. Noreen. But I made 3 bales an acre on my forage barley here yesterday. So I went from 3 bales an acre that morning. I came back up here to the ranch, and it was, some of these fields aren't even doing 0.2, but I made the commitment to get them done. So there you have it. All right, what am I doing here? Let's see if my this stuff's ready to go. Yep. That's ready. Wayne Muth is ready on the road. Oh. Let's take our morning ivermectin. jab. Wasn't this supposed to kill me? Like right away? All the people that told me that? I don't know. Had something goofy with my net wrap last night. From the factory, they had a big FUBAR operation going on when they rolled the net wrap up onto the roll. They must have had something going on. I had something must have got caught in their machine, like some extra net wrap or something like that, because I had to cut almost a half an inch off of one end that had nothing. It was just all mangled and twisted, and had none of the bales had any issues until afterwards. But anyway, yeah, some goofy stuff going on in that thing. So, what is this phone call here? Good morning. You're live. Who's this?
Morning.
What's up?
So,
Why did it show up as anonymous?
if I'm anonymous,
I think it meant anonymous. Anonymous. Morning.
so I did a little experiment last night.
Oh,
I took my small AC/DC converter and hooked the charger to the main battery for the trolling motor batteries,
mm-hmm.
and it doesn't even use 25% of a 400 watt converter.
Nice.
So that's gonna work.
Nice.
So
if you use the AC/DC converter, did you get thunderstruck?
Yes.
Did you have looks that killed?
I did. No. Did not.
Good deal. Well, that's good.
So
I'm ready.
there's my news.
After what I've been doing, and I've been kind of trying to push pretty hard here, scratching, I call it.
Yep.
I'm freaking ready for a couple days off, man.
I think you should skip a funeral and come up here right away.
Yeah, skip a funeral. Yeah. That'd be like telling your dad that you're going to skip the Christmas party, the company Christmas party.
Yeah, well, might happen.
Yeah, might. Might is the right
word. It's probably just going to be me rescheduling the Christmas party to a different weekend.
Yeah. You should have your Christmas.
I'm tired of missing Galva.
You should have your company Christmas party like the first weekend of June out here at the ranch. Do like a retreat.
There has been talk of doing something not in January or December.
Yeah, the party doesn't have to be during Christmas.
No. It's just tough because in the summertime, everybody's so busy, you know.
Everybody says that in the wintertime too. Yeah, because I got sports and I got this going on.
Yeah,
everybody's
not
busy.
A good time to do anything anymore, really.
No.
A lot of activities.
Yeah.
It's not sit around and play Monopoly every weekend like we used to do when we were kids if we weren't working.
Yeah, seemed like we did a lot more family stuff back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah, things were cheaper back then though.
But people are still doing family stuff, but it's just going.
Right.
It's all these travel sports, and it's
we're going down to the water park, or we're driving here
in the water park, and you know, like the old Rapid City water slide park, the outdoor one.
The Waikiki?
That was like that. Waikiki? No, not Waikiki. I'm talking the big slides down the side of the hill on the west side of Rapid City that are not there anymore.
Okay. I never did any of this growing
once
up.
A year.
Yeah.
You know, that was a once a year if you got to special event deal, you know.
We grew up with milking cows. We could not take we
didn't do anything
off. Yeah. Very rare we did anything. Anyway, I better get my other phone call wrapped up here. So be
All
around
right.
possibly for the second side. So I'll let you know.
All right.
Thanks,
I'll be
man.
ready.
Catch you.
Bye.
Oh, that's loud in the ears. Hello. Damn it, I had that same problem with Chinese net wrap. I know I was going to get some. I just can't bring myself to do it. Seems like the John Deere net wrap feeds just better through my baler for some reason. I don't know why, but it's expensive. $400 a roll now. Morning, Scott. Friday after Thanksgiving. Wait, that's deer season.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Muth.
How are you doing, Scotty?
I am just getting wore out, man. Haying season's been long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll bet. Well, that means you've had a lot to put up.
No. It means I got to run everywhere and scratch for it.
Oh, no. I've seen some of these road ditches are pretty high in our area. I mean,
yeah, everybody had some pretty good stuff. It's just, this is just the country. It's tough soil. It's
yeah.
You got to do what you got to do. But I got two places, so I'm trying to run back and forth and make sure everything is put up correctly. You know?
A little more mileage you got to put on. It takes a little more time.
Well, yesterday morning I got up at 4 and roaded my tractor and baler down to the lease place. Put up 240 bales, got that field done, turned around and came back, tried to finish up my father-in-law's stuff. And this morning I got to go back, rode it all the way back down there again and try to do the oats and grass mix because that wasn't ready yesterday, but it should be today. And
yeah, I've seen some of the oats fields, the wheat fields. They're getting pretty ripe pretty fast.
Like you take away the moisture and put some 90 to 80, 90 degree days on it. Let me tell you, I got my neighbors already swat their oats down. They're ready to combine here in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Do you put in a lot of small crops?
No, we did. We put oats and grass and alfalfa mix. So that goes back to hay ground next year. And 80 acres of forage barley is what I did on my lease place. I have no choice what gets put up here on the main place. I don't have a decision on that.
And do you use that mostly for finishing feed for your steers or what?
No, I don't finish anything. I don't have that type of quality, nor do I have the feeding operation.
Sure.
Everything gets put into forage for the cows for the winter. And elk at this point, because good God, I'm feeding a lot of those. Are
you really? Oh, goodness. They would just give you a tag, right?
It's just they say, oh, it's a computer lottery system. Well, I know for a fact you can go into your computer and you can change any program you want. I mean, you can't say that it's random anymore. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, it is what it is.
Yeah. The Ranch America executive producers coming out in August to meet some of the people, and I don't know if we'll have time, but maybe we could give you a call or something, and
absolutely,
and talk to you about that. And I would love to get him out to your ranch and show him like I said, the Badlands side of ranching and that piece. So when they do the filming in September, we'll connect, and maybe if you're moving cattle or doing something that we could, I can get him out there.
Absolutely. Stand by here. Stations, we got 70000, 8 o'clock Central Time on the top on Mark. All right, 6 minutes to show time, Mr. Muth.
All righty. So what else is new out there? How's your knee doing?
Getting better. I threw the brace away, and I'm just being very careful on it.
Yeah.
I can't quite straighten the leg all the way. Dixie's been putting me on some... she's been needling me. She's been doing acupuncture. She's been doing ultrasound on it. Was it not yesterday? 2 days ago, I had to put the brace back on. I had to fence some pretty steep stuff and a lot of hiking up and down, like 30, 40 trips up and down this pretty steep area in a rock butte. And I had to put it on there and make sure it stayed a little bit, but there's a couple times I stepped wrong and there was a little bit of that side tweaking, and So every time you think it's getting a little bit better, I set myself back maybe a week,
Sure.
but it can't
And
get stronger unless you use it.
right. And going downhill is worse than uphill, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Because when I go downhill, I don't know, I can compare it. So I'll go sideways and then I'll turn and I'll go sideways the other way and turn.
Oh,
That's
sure.
how I go downhill usually when I'm hiking. Well, the other day I had my cowboy boots on doing that, and that just slipped right out from underneath me. So I put my Kenetrex on and went back out. And the Kenetrex are good and bad because they hold you better, but they almost hold too much sometimes. Right. So I don't know what the hell to do.
Yeah.
It's only
then your knee goes, and instead of your ankles are sliding.
Right now the weakest point, right, is my MCL and ACL.
Yeah. Well, don't get to the point where you have to have them replaced. I mean, go as long.
Hope not. The way I treat myself, the way I treat my body, sometimes I wonder why. Like my wife said, you're just lucky that it's just surprising this hasn't happened like way sooner.
Yeah. And I found that riding horse, that was probably some of the cause of it too, because I put a lot of stress on my knees when I'm riding horse, and over the years it just beats you up,
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try it. I got to get back on. There's just I can't do this stuff on a 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
It is absolutely just pain in the butt, man. So
yeah, you can't get around.
Well, you can only get around in places that are accessible with a 4-wheeler. I mean, everything else you've been here, a lot of it's horse country.
Yeah, and even that it's challenging, as we found out.
yeah, that's a damn fact. The horse can't go up everything sometimes.
Those horses were so dead by the time we got them back to your ranch.
They're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it's like, oh my God. But so are we. It's tough on the rider too.
That's one thing. If you want to put some wet blankets on a colt. Yeah, bring it. That's usually the roundup to do it. Is that deeper country roundup?
Yeah, it's fun country though. Yeah. So I have a thumb drive for you. I'll send it out to you. You could give it to Gene and Brenda.
You bet.
And because I talked to him about that, he thought it would be pretty neat to have some pictures. So
what was he wanting pictures of?
Well, he just thought we were talking, and he thought it was so awesome that somebody was taking pictures and doing all that, and
nice.
Nice. So I thought, I'll just give him some of everything, and
good deal.
A bunch there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. He'll enjoy that. But
yeah,
I'll take it down there and show him kind of how to pull them up and how to save them and
sure
all that kind of stuff there. Gene Cox says the good thing about 2 hip replacements, no more arthritis pain.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that, today's technology with the knee replacements and hip replacements, they're relatively quick. I mean, they don't have you in the hospital very long.
Yeah. When I had both of mine done, I went in on a Wednesday afternoon, and Thursday evening they sent me home. And I was with both of them at the same time. And
what'd you have done, knees or hips?
Both knees.
Knees?
Both knees, which are major surgeries. I mean, there's bones flying and stuff flying when they cut your leg.
That's crazy.
But luckily, I had a good nurse to take care of me. You were talking about the needling that Dixie does you. Well, she needles me in a different way, maybe.
Yeah, I hear you. But sitting like yesterday, sitting in my tractor baling all damn day. I was in it from 4 a.m. until 10 o'clock last night.
Oh wow!
It gets that's not good. Just sitting there in one position.
No, you got to keep them stretched out and flex them. And
so. Well, about 40 seconds of show time.
Okay.
Gene says, "Don't watch YouTube videos on joint replacement before the operation."
No, that is not a good idea.
All right, stations. I'm going to put you down and go quiet with you here. Stand by, Wayne. Okay. Stations, 20 seconds to show time. Going quiet until start time. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio. Good to have you along, and a big thanks to stations that stand up for what we believe in, like KFYR 550 Bismarck, man, and KCJB 910 in Minot, KLTC in Dickinson. We have KOLY Mobridge, South Dakota. Morning, Karen. And, of course, the KGFX in Pierce, South Dakota. Good to have you guys all along this morning. And the thing about this, I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades long. Wayne Muth from is my guest here this morning. So nearly 2 decades long. 20 years ago, Wayne, I didn't think that my pre-show that we do on YouTube before we start on the radio would be talking about potential knee replacements.
Yeah, I don't suppose. You were young and spry and crazy, I'll bet. Yeah.
So just a heads up for a lot of people here. I had my weekends are mixed up. Last weekend, I said we'd be on the water doing the Dakota Walleye Classic fishing tournament. Actually, it's next week. So I'm still back at the ranch here trying to get the hang kind of somewhat wrapped up before I head back and do that. Next week will be some fishing updates from our first day on the water. So there you go. Okay. Wayne.
So good morning.
Morning. What's on your mind?
A little bit of everything. We're heading down to Fargo, actually, so hopefully there's not too much road noise in the vehicle here. We're going down to the horse races. My son and daughter-in-law and 3 granddaughters are going down. We're gonna join them down there, and Fargo's horse races are on this weekend. We've never been there, so we're gonna try it out.
All right. So you already opened up a can of worms. You ready to go into it, Wayne?
All right.
Well, you mentioned Fargo yesterday on the national news. Everywhere I heard, on Fox News, on the Dakota News Network, on CNN, ABC, any radio station I tune into, and I tune into a lot of different ones during the day. They're talking about the heavily armed guy in Fargo that took the life of a police officer, injured a couple others, and a pedestrian. And, so I'm not taking anything away from them and their families, not at all. What I'm going for is the media's perception on the national side on how they're portraying this. And, they're calling it heavily armed. They had I forget the name of the trigger that they called. It wasn't a bump stock. They called it they had a name for the trigger that they were using, or this guy had on there. What's this going to do in the North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana side of legislation coming into the next couple of years? Do you think we're going to start seeing some heavier pushes, some maybe some lobbyists from outside of the areas coming in and really pushing whether it's red flag laws or any kind of a gun control type thing? Are we going to be starting to see this? Because now it's close to home. It's in the state, right?
Yeah, it is. They were saying that they felt that this guy had a lot more on his mind, more of a mass shooting type of ideas because of what he had, and he had obtained everything legally, and that throws back onto the gun control piece. I mean, how would they know that this guy has any, psychological issues or whatnot? I mean, I hope that our legislators here, and I think they're pretty conservative in that respect, that they're going to keep on standing up for the gun rights for the average person out there, and maybe look at some other means by targeting these type of people and individuals, and not thinking it's the guns. It's the individual there, and we know that. I mean, it could have just been a knife, or he had a grenade there, I guess, or something like that, and he could have thrown that, and that throws the guns out the window, but it's still that person that's doing it. So.
Yeah. Okay, I've been getting messages here. It's a binary trigger is what they called it. Thank you. I got text and I got Matt on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. Binary trigger. It fires when you pull it. It also fires when you release it. So it's like a double acting trigger type of thing is what I would go ahead. But thank you guys for the text messages. I do appreciate the binary trigger is what it's called. But this is why I love the audience we have, Wayne. My mind is fried. I've been putting 22-hour days in here. So when you get that, so here's what I have. Okay, you get some folks going, okay, if you obtain these guns legally and everything legally, I'm going to hit this point first, and we'll talk about the amount of ammo he had and what they considered a substantial amount, because then I'm in trouble. Okay.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are going, okay, if he got this legally, and there's forms you fill out, and these forms you got to send off, and you have to do the national background check. They got to be called in, and if you go through a concealed carry and they do it a little bit quicker, they have to go through. You have to get signed off by your county sheriff, right? You got to get finger. I mean, there's process to go through and get all this.
Yep, there is.
I've heard the argument saying, well, maybe they need to go through a mental evaluation in order to be able to go through this. Now, I have an issue with that, because there are some people out there that think that it's normal to send your kid to school acting like a cat and dressing like a cat and thinking that they're, what do they call them, furries.
Yep.
They think that's normal. So, I mean, who's doing the mental evaluation? What's normal in their mind that's signing off on this?
Yeah, and we have to be very careful about even the laws that they come about. If they make it as a public notice to the authorities that this guy has got a psychological issue, well, who's to say it's not one of those furries parents that are going to say to my neighbor, that's my neighbor, is going to say, hey, Wayne's got a whole bunch of guns over there.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no evaluation that these people are doing. They could just point somebody out if they don't like them or they don't like the guns, and then that person, becomes a focus of the police or something. And it's a slippery slope. I think it would be nice to find out how we can evaluate people a little better, but the gun control issue, I don't know. It's a tough one, because we don't want these things to happen. We don't want our officers in that jeopardy and getting killed and shot. How do we do it? That's a tough one.
So another thing I'd like to know is, I'd like them to do a little bit more research on this guy that did this. Did he grow up in the Dakota Territory? Was he originally from here, or did they move from somewhere? That's also things I'd like to know. I mean, was he from an area where this is, I don't know. I mean, maybe he got booted out of a gang somewhere and ended up, I don't know how it goes, but I'd like them to do a little bit more history, because I think, I still think that here in the Dakota Territory, we have I can't say this anymore, because there's actual furries in some of the schools and around the state. I can't say that we're all correct in the head anymore, but I think that we have some type of values going on here. So
I believe that too. I think we still have that family-based tradition and moral and ethical values that we kind of base ourselves on. There's a Christian faith-based piece that I think really guides people every day, and I think that maybe needs to be more prevalent out there to help our society. And I'm not a racist. I work with a whole bunch of different type of people, and I tell you what I see in the news though are the individuals that are being arrested, that are having issues, that are having the shootings, the stabbings, the accidents, the drug running. These aren't local North Dakota people and names that they're throwing out there. And I'm sorry, but I mean, that's just a fact.
We're up against the clock. We'll be back. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Back after this. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty invite you to their next equipment auction. On Wednesday, July 26th, is the Upper Midwest timed online-only equipment auction. And on Thursday, August 3rd, the Erickson Farm Retirement Auction out of Hettinger, North Dakota. For more information on these equipment auctions and more, go to Pfeifers.com. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
As you know, the cattle prices are fluctuating. It can be difficult for livestock producers to protect their investment against unexpected future. Let Dakota Community Insurance protect you against the unexpected future declines in the cattle market with a Livestock Risk Protection (LRP) policy. Contact Dakota Community Insurance today to discuss how LRP can help you manage your risk. Dakota Community Insurance is an equal opportunity provider.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. Western Frontier Insurance. Agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, and Wilton. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty invite you to their next equipment auction. Go to Pfeiffer's.com and check out the Larson Estate Equipment Auction out of Brookings, South Dakota, July 18th. On Wednesday, July 26th, is the Upper Midwest timed online-only equipment auction. And on Thursday, August 3rd, the Erickson Farm Retirement Auction out of Hettinger, North Dakota. For more information on these equipment auctions and more, go to Pfeiffer's.com. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
As you know, the cattle prices are fluctuating. It can be difficult for livestock producers to protect their investment against unexpected future. Let Dakota Community Insurance protect you against the unexpected future declines in the cattle market with a Livestock Risk Protection (LRP) policy. Contact Dakota Community Insurance today to discuss how LRP can help you manage your risk. Dakota Community Insurance is an equal opportunity provider.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors continues here on a beautiful Saturday morning. Good to have you along. Going to get a heat wave coming around the Dakota Territory this week, starting here today, actually. So my guest here is Wayne Muth here. Wayne, on the road here, headed to Fargo. We're talking about the shooting that happened and the loss of a police officer, which is never good, but it's making national news. And so right before I had to cut you off, we were discussing you're working with all sorts of people, right?
Yep.
And nobody ever wants to say they're racist or anything, but I feel that maybe profiling isn't always a bad thing. Okay. I know people that profile me In fact, when I went to, and whenever I go to seminars, whether it's in San Diego, especially Seattle, holy moly, New Orleans or any of those places, they're definitely profiling me. There's no doubt about it. And likewise, I have no problem with that. I think sometimes it's just human nature to put your guard up once in a while. But
Yeah.
adding to this here, Matt responded. He said, from yesterday's press release in Fargo, evidently the guy's last name, I doubt if I'm going to pronounce it right, but I'm going to say Barakat or however. He was a Syrian national, came to the U.S. on asylum request in 2012, became a citizen in 2019. This is according to Drew Wrigley. And he says, adding to this, it didn't appear to have any ties to the Muslim community. He says that he had some family in the U.S., but none in the Fargo area. So what's bringing these guys from Syria here?
You know, that's a good question. I think one of the things I think we could step back and say, this guy, even though he did what he did things right. He became a U.S. citizen, which I think there's not as enough of that with the people coming across the border. That doesn't make it right that what he did.
No.
But at least he went to that point. However, how do you vet these people coming through here? You know, Syrian nationals, they're built for and born and raised to fight wars.
Like you and I said, they've been fighting for thousands of years in their countries, man. I mean, this is not new to them.
Yeah, that's what they do. They've always been at war, these countries. And you don't know if he got involved with some gang members, if there was some pressure from his home country, if there's some national Syrian group that was backing him or part of this. We don't know that, but it's sad to see this happening so close to home.
Okay. So a good point is brought up here. So we want to be neighbors and friends, and we base our priorities, like Master John says, we stand for these priorities that we really try to trust your neighbors and be a good neighbor, no matter where you are and how rural or urban you are. But he did pose a good question. How do we deal with things like this? So, you know, you and I were talking about, I'm not a big fan of the red flag laws because you can turn anybody in and all of a sudden that person's got a red flag on them, right? They talk about red flags. Right. You don't want to do the mental testing and stuff. Who's determined that person's that's given the test is, how do you know they're mentally stable? How do you deal with this? And also, Jamie sent me a text. He says, I don't think we need to be, everybody needs to be Christian based. We just need people to be raised with good morals. Some of the most moral, common sense based on kind people I know don't even believe in Jesus. On the flip side of that, I've met some real crooked so-and-sos who go to church every Sunday and preach the gospel too. So
that's true. And you know, you mentioned profiling before, and you know, if you think about it, when you go someplace and you're profiled, I bet you don't have a worry because you know that you didn't do anything wrong or there isn't anything in your background. And I think if people have that attitude that, hey, if I'm clean, I shouldn't have to be worried about being profiled. And maybe that's a little bit more than has to happen in our society is looking at people. I mean, we don't want to be a communist country. They're a socialist country that starts looking at everybody coming through here. And if they don't, agree with the ideologies, you get put on some blacklist. However, we may need to look at something a little bit more in depth going forward.
Yeah. Tim also said Drew Wrigley declined to detail the shooter's employment history or if he had any friends. And I don't know why they would do that. Why would you decline giving information?
Yeah.
Unless it's a
little suspect there.
Yeah,
I think,
seems a little fishy on that. So, but I don't know. Okay, so on the other note of this, we talked about the binary trigger.
Yeah.
I've never shot one. I've shot a bump stock before. Never had the binary trigger on anything that I have. But let's talk about ammunition. The national news is saying that he hordes and hordes of ammunition. He had 1,800 rounds, and I guess in some person's eyes, that looks to be a lot of rounds, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you're, I don't know. That's a tough one because it's like, I stock up. And the reason I stock up, I went to Runnings. I was going through there the other day and I was like, hey, they got 129 SSTs. I haven't seen them on the shelf for like 4 or 5 years. So I picked up a few more boxes and I already have some. but I like that round so much, and it shoots so well out of my rifle for coyote hunting that I picked up 4 more boxes.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I shoot the same rounds, and thanks for letting me know. I'll have to run the running to get some, but I do the same thing. You're going through there, and you're going, hey, they have that caliber and that grain that I shoot, so I'm going to pick that up. And if you look at, you could buy a box of 22 shells, and there's 500 in a brick, or 1,000 in a brick. I mean, that adds up in a hurry. And if you looked at probably most people's gun safes, you'd find a couple thousand rounds in there. So does that mean that we're hoarding and we should be put on some blacklist? Exactly. I don't think so, but you do what you need to do with your passion for your sport, but we're not out there to create issues with the public.
Well, that's the thing. We do it. I mean, if you're going to go shooting prairie dogs for a couple, say you're going to do a weekend, all right, and like when I had the Savage guys coming out, they literally shipped a pallet of ammunition out to me. Right? I mean, 15 to 20,000 rounds of 223 and 22 250, and they shot almost every one of it. All right, and that, I mean, it's a lot of shooting. Now, granted, this was 12 years ago, 12 years ago, and if they saw me driving around through Bismarck Mandan right now with a pallet of ammunition in the back of my pickup, would I be turned in?
Yeah,
would people be aware of it? I mean, they would be scared.
Yeah, and it's our society today that's gotten that way because of shootings like this, of course. But it's the media. It's the media pushes this,
exactly,
and they're not on our side by any means. But yeah, it's an issue that's out there, and how do we solve it? I think we have to have the right legislators in there. And I tell you what, we've got to make sure that when we're going to vote every time, we've got to make sure we're backgrounding the people that we're putting in there, and they're going to support us and what is right for our state and our communities. And I think people are starting to recognize that a little bit more, because you sometimes don't get the person that you think you're voting for.
Yeah.
And that's where it has to start, because the legislation's got to set the laws and set the standards on this.
Gene says, are competition shooters now considered hoarders? Probably in some people's eyes.
Oh, yeah, you have to be careful there, Gene.
Yeah.
30, a bunch of 30-30 shells and really be suspect.
Oh, man, I tell you. Yeah, we can sit back and, when you think about, you hear here's a good here's a good comment. We'll talk about that in the second half of the program. Somebody said, look what they're doing to Jason Aldean's new song right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll get into that in the second half. We're only got 60 seconds here. But, when you look at it happening in Denver, Colorado, or Las Vegas when they had the shooting, and that's why Jason Aldean actually wrote that song, and going around to different bigger urban areas, now that it hit a little bit closer to the Dakota Territory in the Fargo area, I just have this feeling that we're in for some legislation, some big lobbyists that are going to be moving in from out of state, big gun control people. They just needed something to spark it in this area. And call me a conspiracy theorist, but sometimes I think that some of these lobbyists thrive on following the bad news just to get their agenda gone through. But anyway, we'll talk about that plus more coming up on the second half here, Wayne. So keep driving.
Talks on those.
The stuff that goes through my head while I'm on the Baylor by myself for too many times here. Thanks for your calls and messages here. Keep them coming in, 701-425-6651 if you want to text. Live chatting on YouTube. You can also call into the program live, 888-932-5682. Call in. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty invite you to their next equipment auction. On Wednesday, July 26th, is the Upper Midwest timed online-only equipment auction. And on Thursday, August 3rd, the Erickson Farm Retirement Auction out of Hettinger, North Dakota. For more information on these equipment auctions and more, go to Pfeifers.com. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
As you know, the cattle prices are fluctuating. It can be difficult for livestock producers to protect their investment against unexpected future. Let Dakota Community Insurance protect you against the unexpected future declines in the cattle market with a Livestock Risk Protection LRP policy. Contact Dakota Community Insurance today to discuss how LRP can help you manage your risk. Dakota Community Insurance is an equal opportunity provider.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. Western Frontier Insurance. Agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, and Wilton. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty invite you to their next equipment auction. Go to Pfeiffer's.com and check out the Larson Estate Equipment Auction out of Brookings, South Dakota, July 18th. On Wednesday, July 26th, is the Upper Midwest timed online-only equipment auction. And on Thursday, August 3rd, the Erickson Farm Retirement Auction out of Hettinger, North Dakota. For more information on these equipment auctions and more, go to Pfeiffer's.com. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
As you know, the cattle prices are fluctuating. It can be difficult for livestock producers to protect their investment against unexpected future. Let Dakota Community Insurance protect you against the unexpected future declines in the cattle market with a Livestock Risk Protection LRP policy. Contact Dakota Community Insurance today to discuss how LRP can help you manage your risk. Dakota Community Insurance is an equal opportunity provider.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors continues on a Saturday morning. Hope everything is going well in your neighborhood. Wayne Muth is my guest here. Wayne, I'm just going to go through a couple of the last messages, and then we're going to get on to another debate. Are you ready?
Yeah.
First off, somebody said, who still shoots a 30-30? So, and Tim responded quickly. He says, I do. It fits in my saddle scabbard, and it's really popular in the forested areas in northern Minnesota. So thanks for that. Let's see. Gene says, as long as Pound Town and WAP are still smash hits in the music world, they should leave Jason Aldean alone. So
Yeah.
Now,
Exactly.
let's update people what's happening. So Jason Aldean, who was in Vegas when the big Vegas shooting was going on, right?
Yep.
And
his concert.
Yeah, at his concert, the whole works. So he came out with a song. I believe it's called "Try That in My Town" or "Try It in a Small Town" or something. And,
Try it in a small town. Yeah.
And it goes through, and basically people are upset about the video more than anything because the video shows all the riots and all the stuff that's been going on from the BLM guys and all this. I mean, and they don't want that stuff shown. They don't want the riots and all the bad stuff shown. So the woke society is trying to shut Jason Aldean down. And what happened was it took it to number one. The song went to number one overnight. And
it did.
So like Maren Morris, this other so-called country gal, she's the one who started this thing, trying to get him canceled and not being it's just, there's more to it. So that is what's going on with that. So people are wondering what's going on with that. He came out with a song that said it stands up for being good, being right, and being in a rural, small community and watching each other's back.
Right, and we're not going to let that happen in our small town.
Exactly.
I mean, and they had the videos of what happened in Minneapolis, and after that, and that nothing was done about it. But if you try that in our small town, we're going to fight back.
Yeah.
And that's really what the song is about. And I'm glad it went to number one. And I hope that the others out there are recognizing that America is still America, and we're still a little family cultured small town atmosphere, and we're going to fight back, and we have to. We can't let them overtake this and push us around the woke culture and the BLM type thing. And so it's great that it went to number one. I enjoy it. Yep.
All right. Well, I think we beat that dead horse a little bit. Let's go to the next one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So the title of today's show is Corner Crossings and Private Property. So up here on my pewter right now, I heard this on a talk show in Montana the other day. Earlier this week, I was listening, and it kind of sparked some interest. We heard about the corner crossing where public land and private land are checkerboarded across Wyoming. And there's a few people from Missouri. They went corner to corner, and they crossed. The landowner got all mad and went to court, and they were found legal to do that.
Right.
Now in Montana, there was a quote from the Fish and Wildlife and Parks deputy director that sparked a little bit of craziness in Montana. You ready for this? I'll read the quote. Dustin Temple says, corner crossing still remains unlawful in Montana. Montanans should continue to obtain permission from the adjoining landowners before crossing corners from one piece of public land to another. And wardens will continue to report corner crossing cases to the local attorneys. And this has created a lot. The backcountry guys, the Montana chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers are upset about this. It's going crazy right now, going, holy cow.
Yeah.
So what are we're the access thing? I think the corner crossing, I mean, technically you can step from corner to corner without touching anybody's private land.
Right. The whole background behind this, there's the four guys, like you mentioned, from Missouri who went to Wyoming, and they found the corner where they could cross from public land to public land. They did that on one instance because there was two posts and a chain across, and they used the post to hand on the post to throw themselves across. And they were cited at that time. And then also a couple years later, they used a ladder to go across. Well, they were taken to court by the landowner who lives in North Carolina. And the first was a criminal case, and they were found not guilty of the criminal case. And just recently, about a month ago or so, they were found not guilty of the civil case. The civil case had ramifications. They were being sued for $7.5 million because of the land value decrease, because now there's access from point A to point B in public, and this landowner no longer has, this independent access to this area. So his realtor or whoever it was said, that land value is going to drop. So he was suing these guys. Well, that was found not guilty as well. So then the legislators legislatures in a couple of states, I think Montana was one, tried to get something so that they said corner crossing was illegal. That did not go through, or did not complete that process. And then Montana came out and said, they can't say it's legal or illegal, but they're saying, I believe they kind of said it's illegal, didn't they? Is that how you're interpreting this?
They say it's unlawful, is how they
unlawful, right? Unlawful. But there's no precedence that has been set, or no laws out there that has been set. And even though that this criminal and civil cases are true, that does not set a precedence for any other areas. So hunters still have to be careful. They should be talking to the landowners. And I think that's what we have to think about. We respect the private property rights first. I think that's number one. And so they should be talking to the landowners and making sure that they can get across. And if they can't and they corner cross, they're doing it at their own risk, because the county attorneys are the ones that are going to be making the judgment call whether they're going to pursue this or not as charges. And that's where it's coming down to, is the county pieces. Yeah. Now, if this goes to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals for this appeal from this landowner from North Carolina, if that comes down with a ruling, that will take more precedence over what has happened in the past. But now there's just a persuasive, ideology there, ideas for any judge to use, but it's not a precedence that is set. So I still have to be careful as hunters out there.
You said it comes down to the counties. Now, I had some experience with a county, I guess you could call them their state's attorney, right?
Right.
Which, if you take anything to and in front of them, they just want to dismiss it, because certain state's attorneys just think that everything should be public, even if it's in a private landowner area. They won't even attempt to try to push any charges, because it just takes it's too much of our time. That's kind of their job, right? I mean, that's what they do. Right.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to, how much, if there was damage done. I mean, this landowner down in Wyoming said that they violated his airspace by going over his land. And there is a part of that as his airspace that is understood as private property, as high as the planes fly, but they found that there was no damage here. But and you have to be careful as a landowner as well, because this landowner also put up 2 fence posts and a chain across, and there's the Unlawful Enclosures Act that he could be prosecuted for. Yeah, that you have to allow access from public to public. You cannot fence it off or not allow access, because there's a Unlawful Enclosure Act states that.
So Gene says, I think the landowner is a hunting ranch, and that the ranch surrounds public land with no access, and that's why he was using it as such. And that, which makes sense if he's absentee landowners are
right. Yeah.
I mean, we deal with them. I have one that's my neighbor is an absentee landowner, and it kind of creates a little bit of a mess in the fall time for us around here. But what do you do, right? I mean, you can only do so much. And those guys have the money, man. Absentee landowners have money.
Yeah, they do. Now, North Dakota, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have to worry about this because we can go in on the section lines. However, as you and I know, and the ranch that I work on and help out out west, and your ranch, those section lines aren't down the section lines.
Nothing's on section lines.
The fences aren't on the section lines. I mean, so it's a difficult piece to find, those section lines to travel down.
I'm not a big fan of that law anyway, so we can go on a whole nother rant on that one. But that's I mean, if there's a trail, that's one thing. But what really gets me out here in this area is we need to get with the Forest Service and redo the trails, because most of the trails across that you see on the Forest Service maps, they don't have easements. They actually, and this has been taken to court and won by many people, and the Forest Service will admit to it, that if they don't have an easement crossing the private property, technically you cannot go through that trail unless you have permission on the private landowner. So even they agree with it, because they've been to court so many times on it.
Right. And also in the oil country, the oil companies, they will lease access to
Absolutely, they
somebody's
do.
property, and they put a road in there.
Yep.
Well, that road doesn't get taken out once the wells are taken out, and these people that have the public people that have been on these roads going through these properties, they will continue to do that even though it's private. So that's where your GPSs and your Onyx come into play and show you where you're at, because even though the roads are there, you may not have access to them.
Right. And you also have to make sure it's updated too, like Onyx and Basemap. It seems like Basemap updates a lot sooner with the latest landowners over Onyx.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it depends on which one updates more quickly than the other.
So, Scott, speaking for me, speaking as a public landowner out west, and I mean a public hunter out west, how do we handle these landlocked areas? Because like Wyoming, they said has like over 400,000 public acres that are landlocked, and in the entire United States, there's like 9.2 million acres of land that you and I own that we can't get on because landowners have landlocked them. So how do we approach this and make it better? Because theory, that's where our taxes are going. We're supporting these, and we should have access to those. So
I think it also, there must have been a reason to some of these landowners. Well, first off, first and foremost, if it's an absentee landowner that isn't from that area and born and raised in the area, I think that has a little bit to do with why they're going to try to close things off. I really do. And so, I mean, that's part one. I think if it's a generational thing and they all of a sudden close things up for you, there must have been a reason. There must have been somebody that did something wrong.
Right.
All of it goes back to, it all goes back to making those relationships.
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, I really, so people come in here and they don't have to drive through the yard, but for some reason they feel that they need to drive through the yard. And that upsets me. Okay. There's no reason for this. They can stop on the section line and technically step right out of their vehicle and go right into Forest Service ground. Okay. I call it federal. I don't call it public because as a rancher out here, we can't really utilize the public land. So
right.
I just call it federal land because that's what I feel it is more than anything. But anyway, they can go into there. They can go up into the corner of that one. They can corner cross into the next one. I don't care. That's fine. But when you just come through the yard and drive right past me without stopping and saying anything and just assume that you can just drive through the yard, that kind of sets a little bit of a bad taste, or when they go through a gate that has a sign right on it, no hunting or trespassing, it's private land, and they go right through it. I think that's what sets kind of that, well, we're just going to keep shutting things down because nobody has respect or even has the time to even talk to us. And not only that, it's like I'll take some of these elk hunters. I've had 2 calls on people that got tags. Mm-hmm. I guarantee the opening weekend, there's going to be 50 people. All of a sudden, now they want access.
Right.
That's not the time. It's not the time at all to try to do that stuff. And I know you go out and you help fence. You go out and try to help whatever you can do. And not everybody has time to do that. I get it.
Right.
But maybe there's something you could do to make that relationship a little stronger.
In the same turnabout, instead of driving by your place, I would like to establish a little relationship there, even though I'm able to, because it may not be that hunting access I may need or something, but let's say my vehicle breaks down or I need help for something.
What if you sprained what if you broke your ankle?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've had that.
And you need help. Yeah. So that landowner is nice to have as a friend and an acquaintance that you can, work with in those situations. That's for sure. So
here's a good example of knowing and getting in touch with the local people. So this little gal from Bismarck, Mandan came out and shot a beautiful elk. Shot it in my pasture. There's a little bit of federal land in there. It was right in that, nestled in there. And she's like, I don't know how to get this out of here. But it was right on the edge where the federal meets the private. And she called me weeks and weeks before that and said, I'm going to be down doing this and this and this, my husband and I. And I said, well, if you need any help, let me know, because we know how to get in and out of these areas probably better than anybody. And she did. And we got that elk pulled out of there and cleaned up and dressed, and she got it back. And my big thing is getting it cooled down so the meat and everything is good, because that's so important to me.
Right.
It doesn't matter how big the antlers are, but I want that meat to be the best tasting experience you'd ever have. And
exactly.
she did it right. That was a great thing. We got in there, and if she wouldn't have called me, I guarantee either some of that meat, guaranteed some would go bad. Some of it would have been eaten by coyotes or whatever other predators we have out here way before they would have got all of it packed out of there.
Right. Yeah. I had the same type of incidents. I had the same type of incident on public land right next to the private land I was hunting at the time, and our landowner and I get along very well. And it was an older gentleman that had shot an elk, and to get the elk out of there, it was already 90 degrees. It would have spoiled, and he was 65 years old, and there's no way he would have got it out without, having a heart attack probably. So I helped him get down to a trail road, and I walked him out on a trail road on private land to where he can get his truck in there, and he was able to get it out in a short period of time. And yeah, those are the relationships you can build by knowing the landowners or knowing the area that you're hunting. And it makes a difference.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. That's for sure.
And it might not be overnight either. You might not be able to make this relationship work the first year, but you should think about that. You should think about that when you're applying for different tags, building maybe whatever area you're looking at going into, maybe building that ahead of time instead of surprising them the opening day of deer season, for crying out loud, right?
Yeah, exactly. So have you been seeing a lot of deer out at your place? Is it
not a whole lot? So yesterday I saw one white-tailed doe with no fawn. I saw one muley doe with no fawn. I seeing a lot of pronghorn antelope, but only about 50% have kids with them. Really? That's about it. The antelope population is right now, from what I'm seeing, higher than the deer population I'm seeing.
Wow. Well, that's good. I mean, glad to see the antelope are out there, but we'd like to have more deer, of course.
I think it's going to take a while to build back out here because of the EHD. I really do. Yeah, it really affected a lot of things.
There's some areas that are hit really hard, and it'll take several years to do that and get them back. And I hope the Game and Fish Department can manage those numbers and the tags that they're giving out, so that we don't have a big tag allowance out there that's going to have hunters going out there and shooting does and such that shouldn't be taken, and I hope the hunters will understand that as well.
Well, I tell you what, one more thing. It says, I'm sure it opens another debate, but what if you flew onto public land? So I don't know in North Dakota if you can legally land. So that's the issue with Forest Service property or federal property is they have certain travel restrictions and what you can and can't do on it. So I know in Montana,
I know there's a ranch in central Montana up in the Grass Range area where these guys do not allow anybody on there. And there's been gentlemen that flew in with a helicopter being dropped off in the middle of these sections to hunt. Now I know Montana's apparently okay with it, and I'm not sure what type of land it was, if it was National Forest Service or what. But
it could be BLM land. It could be what. But Wayne, I appreciate you taking time on your trip to Fargo horse races. Make sure you bet some lot of money on the highest, the worst odds out there. That's when you win the most.
That's right. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. But you bet. Well, thank you, sir. Have yourself a great day. Safe drive.
You too. Thanks, sir.
You bet. Thanks for tuning in today all across the Dakota Territory and on YouTube. Appreciate that. Eat some meat, drink some milk, have yourself a safe weekend, and get ready for a little heat wave, ladies and gentlemen. All right, stations, thank you. Wayne, thanks again, man. I am going to get my tractor serviced up and head south to the lease place and get some oats put up.
So are you going to be on the water next Saturday? Just no YouTube then? Is that what you're planning?
Jesse and I will pre-record it Friday night, so we have the first day results of the fishing tournament.
Good.
And go that route. So since it's on YouTube, the stations can just take it off of there and start playing it from there.
Sure. You should have had somebody over at the radio station just doing it there, and then have you call in.
Well, the hard thing about it is you have to use my YouTube account. and you have to have the radio
I
station
see.
has to have all of it tied into the YouTube, making sure the audio gets through there
I see.
in order for all the other stations, because not all stations are together. You know, the two
right.
in South Dakota work together, the 3 in North Dakota work together, but not all 5 of them work together under the same type of thing. So the YouTube is the simplest, easiest way for everybody to get it without me having to have like 6 different programs on my computer.
Oh, sure. That's nice. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. So I've got a couple articles that I'm putting together for some magazines in the future here. One of them is for Pope and Young, scoring and entering your stuff and whatnot. If you want to do anything like that in August,
Sure.
we could put
Absolutely.
throwing that on there too.
You bet.
You know, talk about, we can get into the fair chase stuff again if you want, or
I'd love to.
whatever you
I'd
want.
love to discuss fair chase. You
Yeah.
bet.
We could do that again. Yeah. That'd be good.
Okay.
So,
Well, hey, man.
well, good. Take care.
You too. Have a good day and enjoy the horse races.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
You bet. See you later. Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, YouTube, appreciate everything. You guys have a good day and enjoy. I'm going to go out and try to attempt to scratch hay.